After over 19 months of war, a ceasefire has been agreed upon in at least in principle. The leaders of Hamas have agreed, at least so they say, to a ceasefire agreement with the United States of America. Now you may ask, why are they agreeing to something like that with the United States of America? Why is the U.S. negotiating? That is a very good question. But of course, if you've been following the presidency of Donald Trump or anything about the life and career of Donald Trump, it becomes a bit less of a surprise. President Trump, who for about a weekend at the beginning of his current term in office, gave Israel his full support, and Netanyahu said thanks, but no thanks. Has since changed his mind, been changing his mind, and is now talking directly to Hamas, talking directly to Iran. I don't know if we have that video, but he made a little bit of a statement about very good news in negotiations with Iran, while of course Iran is saying no way we're going to stop enriching uranium no matter what. So yeah. It appears that Hamas have agreed to the Witkoff plan for a ceasefire with, of course, not all the hostages released, a longer ceasefire than the previous one, fewer hostages released, because we know this is going to be the third ceasefire if it happens. Uh, each one, Hamas has more favorable terms. All of them always include Hamas not releasing the very last hostage because why would they? No matter what they do, Israel sits with them. Israel's so-called allies, keep putting pressure on Israel. Hamas knows they have to wait it out. Wait it out, they will. And Israel, of course, eventually, if not with this deal, with some deal, will capitulate, unfortunately. And as always, I hope I'm wrong. Welcome to the Daily Objective. I'm Razi Ginsburg. I'm joined by Daniel Kraus. Daniel, another day, another ceasefire. I don't know how many episodes. Maybe it's going to be interesting. I might look through our YouTube and see how many episodes we have with the word ceasefire in it from the last 19 months. Yeah, your thoughts on this ceasefire and what's new?
Well, there's way too many, and also, I mean, as with everything, we don't know what exactly is happening because you have different reports. You had just today, or I think just a few hours ago, Steve Witkoff came out and said there is nothing is happening. There is no deal. There is nothing. So we'll have to see. Then you have Reuters reporting that Hamas did agree to a ceasefire. So this would be a 70-day truce that would include a partial withdrawal from Israeli forces in Gaza, as well as release of some Palestinian prisoners. As you said, when it comes to hostages, five hostages would be released on the day one, and five hostages would be released on the last day. Now, there is a different 60-day ceasefire that also has been reported by Sky News Arabic. So maybe that's the one that's going on. Then, as I said, Witkoff has said there is nothing. There is one more thing. Also, Arabic language Sky News Network has said that in the coming days, Trump will announce a ceasefire in Gaza. Not specifically which one, just a ceasefire. Um, so I don't know, maybe that one will happen. And as I said, Steve Witkoff, today the special envoy to Middle East for Trump administration, has today said that yeah, there is nothing happening, but he said that Israel is sort of open to the temporary ceasefire that was offered, which would have different things. So overall, yeah, I mean, these discussions shouldn't even happen. These are discussions with the terrorist organization to give them, to reward them in some way for the terrorism they have committed on October 7, as well as the continued, I mean, even before October 7, the continued sort of ruling over Gaza with the only intention of attacking Israel, as to be, not a single shelter was built to shield Palestinians from Israeli strikes or anything in that regard. The only thing that all of Gaza has been geared towards is war against Israel. So this continuous animosity towards Israel will be rewarded. And yeah, so overall, I'm not really sure what's going to happen in the upcoming days, but I know what should happen, or what shouldn't happen is definitely any sort of a deal. Israel should continue the way it's doing. I think there was another report that in like 1 or 2 months, Israel should be able to get control of 70% of Gaza, which that's a pretty slow, but I'll take if that means that within like half a year Israel will control all of Gaza and will hold on to all of Gaza. You know what? I'll take it.
I had a bunch of stuff to say, but since you said that, let me start with that. Yeah, I saw somewhere the number I saw was 75% within 2 months. Uh, okay, that's 75% of the territory. What that means is not that Israel will have occupied Gaza, it's that Israel will have gotten to a point where Palestinians are, on 25% of the land and Israel is on the other 75. It is a meaningless figure. If you want to give us a figure that actually says occupation, tell us the percentage of Palestinians, of Gazans who will be living under Israeli control. That's more interesting to me. Whatever the percentage of the land, of course, I'm the percentage that I've been advocating for long before October 7th is 100, and the percentage of people in Gaza that I think should stay is zero, as is the number of people. But yeah, this is one of those things that they put out there that does sound better than most of what we're hearing. Because, like you said, Israel is open to a temporary ceasefire, to a permanent ceasefire, to whatever Hamas agrees to, if they can have, hostages coming back, and yeah, and knowing that that is the case, again, plays into Hamas's hands. We've been hearing for a long time, especially in Israel, people criticizing Netanyahu for or saying that Netanyahu wants to prolong the war because he wants to keep his seat, keep his job as prime minister. Now, I'm amazed that Netanyahu has kept his job as prime minister this long, but remember, something like less than 10% of his time as prime minister has been post October 7th. He's managed to hold on through unbelievably bad leadership before, and he's managing now. But the people who absolutely want this to continue is Hamas, because Hamas knew they do October 7th, it'll be as successful as it is. Then they'll go into the tunnels. Some of them will die. They'll wait it out. Headlines immediately on October 7th and 8th will be very negative towards them. And then as soon as Israel starts doing anything, and the longer it takes, or the more uh, effective the military action, the more condemnations around the world will grow. The more time is on Hamas's side, because the world unites around it, and unites around Hamas, because there are those who are consistent, who went out and celebrated on October 7th. There are those who are kind of, as long as it's been stated enough and by enough people, I will accept it because this is the mainstream. And they're getting more and more of those people on their side, and they will continue to get more and more people on their side if they continue to do this. Hamas is absolutely, they knew on October 7th what they were doing, and so did Israel. They stuck to their guns, and we're all paying for it. Thank you, Jonathan, for the super chat. Thank you, PC, for the super chat. Razi, can they free Palestine in another galaxy? If it's far, far away, I'm for it. But no, Libya is good. Libya is great, as I've said. It's far enough that they can't invade directly. It'll be a long journey. It's close enough that Israel can strike if needed, and it's a weak dictatorship. You can force it on them. You can say you are taking these people, or else. So yeah, again, whoever came up, I guess this came from Trump, but it's one of many places that came from Trump. But yeah, Trump, when you have verbal diarrhea, accidentally you will say rational, semi-rational things, possibly from time to time. They're not rational in the sense that you have arrived at them for a process of reason, but they happen to be correct. Um, and thank you, Bonnie, for the super chat. Daniel.
Yeah, so again, even when it comes to sort of the Witkov's deal, or at least what Witkov said is the deal that Israel is agreeing to currently, the sort of the temporary ceasefire, that would include there will be a deal for half of the living hostages and half of the dead hostages, which is not even that different from the deal that is supposed to happen. So it's there's only I think there's less than 2 dozen living hostages left, so that would mean like 10 or 11. Anyway, which is kind of weird since originally, or at least if I'm remembering correctly, a few weeks or few months back, the idea was that all hostages would come back uh, as part of any deal. So I have no idea how are we going back with the demands by Israel. How are we like less demanding now? Now that there is an actual operation in Gaza, or there is sort of a stronger operation in Gaza. So you know, whatever is happening, the idea that there were sort of like two separate ideas, right? We are going to Gaza and we will occupy it, or we are simply trying to exert some pressure on Gaza to get a better deal. We're not doing either of that, so I have no idea what is the plan here. As we said, sort of like, or some people in the chat are saying that Trump's schizophrenic foreign policy is showing, but also when it comes to like Netanyahu's foreign policy, I have no idea what is his plan, which is also kind of disturbing because some people are saying, will he when the war ends, will he still be the prime minister? But it's important to remember Netanyahu is like the politician, sort of like in Israel. It's the rest of them are not capable of leading in any way. Let's say from the sort of like major parties, or at least the dominant parties. So, generally, definitely scared for Israel, but. Yeah, I think one. Well, also the Israeli officials are saying that there will be intensified military operations in Gaza, even while the hostage dealing is happening. So I'm I'm really split about what really is going on. I'm wondering if there is something we just don't know behind the scenes because none of these things make any sense. The only explanation for everything would be that pretty much everybody has gave up on actually doing anything in Gaza. So we are kind of just going with the motions and seeing what eventually maybe Trump will suddenly say, okay, I just wanted this to be done, and then Netanyahu will say, okay, we'll just go with this because Trump said so, or somebody else will come in. But as of right now, it seems like nobody has any vision for Gaza.
I saw this video on Twitter. I don't know if I can find it, but I think it was yesterday, of somebody doing some random video chat with someone who's from Iran. He escaped Iran. He said, I was brought up to hate Jews and so on, and I became pro-Israel and a Zionist. And the other guy asks him, the other guy is I'm pretty sure famous. I'm afraid I don't know who he is. Uh, Said, what was the moment that changed it for you? And he said, the killing of Nasrallah, because I saw that they were doing something. And yeah, the world is tired of Israel because Israel is not behind itself in this. It's not supporting. It's not making the case for itself. We're making the case for Israel. Israel won't listen. Israel is feeding its enemy. It's sacrificing its soldiers to protect the enemy, and it's apologizing about not doing enough of that. And why would you support somebody in war who's apologizing for being in war, even when we saw who started it, we hear them, we know that they refuse to end the war, and yet Israel is apologetic. So yeah, Israel is losing support by not fighting more. Yes, the protests will be louder. Of course, the globalizing of the Intifada might get worse, but the government's job is to protect its citizens, and when the country is attacked, when war is declared, to end it as quickly as decisively as possible. Which, in terms of military balance of power, Israel again could have done within a day. Um, I will say, Daniel, on military pressure, Israel is doing stuff. It's not doing enough, and it keeps saying, and we've been hearing for a few weeks that Gideon's chariot, the really strong part of it, is coming. I see reports, but again, reports, I don't know how, credible they are, that a lot of it is because the U.S. says, wait a few more days, let us try keep negotiating. Witkoff said, I believe last week in the Jerusalem Post conference that he thinks we're closer to a deal in part because of the military pressure. Now, again, Witkoff is not a career politician, but he understands the assignment very well. You speak to a right-wing Israeli crowd, say something positive about Israeli military action, and you speak to others. You say different things to different people. So yeah, look, if Israel backed off completely and then tried to negotiate, the deal would be worse. But yeah, if Israel doubled down and actually, you know, fought properly, then a better deal would be possible, but even something more important would be possible, which is zero deal. And I know this word is, maybe should be bleeped out, but victory would be possible.
Yeah, I mean, nobody is talking about victory, and nobody ever was, right? That was a problem for start. It was maybe I should go back to the first videos we did, sort of after October 7th, just to see if we reported on any idea of victory. But from day one, it was about destroying Hamas and getting back the hostages. None of those really mean victory in what needs to happen in a war, especially if you are planning to not only occupy sort of like temporarily Gaza, but occupy it indefinitely until they change or until they are incorporated into Israel proper. So from day one, this was going in a wrong way, and we are seeing the results of that, right? Somebody in the chat said earlier Netanyahu's plan from day one was greater Israel, and I wish anybody ever had any of those ideas. No, there is no I mean, Israel already generally pulled out of Gaza. There is no sort of like plan to occupy Gaza. I mean, Israel doesn't want to do anything with Gaza. If they could ignore it forever, they would do that. That's why they didn't do anything with Gaza and Hamas building up forever. I mean, pretty much the whole time, right? The only time Israel did anything in Gaza was when Hamas did something first. That was the only time there was any response. And yeah, what else do you mean, like by like greater Israel, like annexing a little bit of like Syria because they are in like parts of it. They gave up. There is no yeah, even when it comes to sort of the West Bank or sort of like annexing all of that, e- they are doing it in like the weirdest way possible. Like there is an actual justification. There is terrorism in those territories. There is no longer any sort of like dealing, any sort of like future of a two-state solution. Palestinians have rejected every part of it. So the whole area is this like weird sort of compromise that is unreasonable, that makes no sense. If Israel wanted to, they could simply take over all of it. So yeah, it's hard to like speak on any of this because there is so like I have nothing to latch on. I have no sort of like vision to latch on to hope for, or like this is what we have to do, this is what we have to go for. It's yeah, there's really nothing there.
Yeah, PC says in the chat, I gave up on two-state solution in 2000. Me too. I think that was the year. Yeah, that was the year that I moved from the left in Israel, and yeah, gave up on that. Greater Israel. People hear slogans, and it's kind of associated with a Zionist, so they throw it out there. Greater Israel. I don't know the exact borders, but it spans into Jordan and maybe
Yeah, isn't it supposed to be like from
Iraq.
Niles to your
Something,
yeah.
yeah, something, yeah. Much of the Middle East, I'm sure there are people, who have these fantasies. This is not a Netanyahu policy. Unfortunately, a Netanyahu policy was the two-state solution. He didn't give up on it in 2000. He bought into it in, I believe, 2009. So, although he, you know, acted as if he believes in it previously as prime minister and a member of Sharon's cabinet. Um, but yeah, in the question for me, as I've said in the past on the show, on who to vote for if you're in Israel, like the the war, you are surrounded by savages who are now acting on their desire to exterminate the Jews. And so anybody who understands that this is war and is ready to fight it, that is who I would vote for. Netanyahu's the version of Netanyahu that I hear from anti-Israel people is somebody I'd vote for. Unfortunately, I follow him, and I would not vote for him. But I have said I would vote for Feiglin. I think Feiglin is terrible on many things, and it scares me to think of him as prime minister in a time of peace. I don't want to think what kind of country Israel would be under him, but it doesn't it doesn't matter. The Cordairs back during lockdowns when they opened their art gallery despite lockdown and basically said, come for us if you have to. Had this great slogan, uh, not dying is not living. It's a fantastic slogan. I will say a prerequisite for living is not dying. And Israel, that is the immediate need for Israelis is to not die, not be murdered, and not fight a war against those who would rather not live as long as you don't live, not pretend that they are not who they say and show us that they are. Recognize where you are, who you're surrounded by, act accordingly.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear what Israel needs to, or not even what Israel needs to do. Like this is again, this is the purpose of government is to extract force from human interaction and to defend, so internally and externally to basically protect its population, its citizens from any outside force. That is the primary purpose. That's why we orchestrated governments. That's why we went banded together and created governments. That's the only real function. And the fact that that is being defaulted on, that is being basically put aside for nothing really. I mean, there is simply no goal. We are just waiting. Again, Israel is simply like waiting for the most part to see what would happen instead of like trying to do what is necessary in Gaza. And despite and as you said, like you wish Netanyahu was what the left sees Netanyahu as. And on the reality show, we'll cover Owen Jones and go to one of the polls. And I wish Israelis were what this poll is, what the poll is supposedly like saying about Israelis. Um, so yeah, we'll continue like following this. We'll continue seeing what needs to happen. I mean, I think like 2 weeks ago or so, when this Operation Gideon's Chariots was supposed to start, we were sort of like talking about it. I was like, my statement back then was, and I couldn't imagine how wrong I was, but I should have. I was too high on copium. I was basically saying, in the next week or the next 2 weeks, we'll either get like a huge ceasefire deal, which would pretty much mean the end, or we'll get this operation and it would actually lead to some occupation. Now it looks like I'll have to wait. Well, maybe we'll see what Trump says in the next few days. But now it looks like I'll have to wait a few more months, if not years, to see what even happens with Gaza. If this will continue staying at this sort of like slow, maybe going into Gaza, and what that would mean if that would lead to an actual occupation, which it looks like Israel has no desire to do, and also what it would mean for the international community, since we now have Hamas thanking France and thanking UK for their support. Kadir.
Yeah. Forgot what I was gonna say, but I did see a couple of things. Oh yeah, PC says he was 18 in 2000 when he gave up on the two-state solution. I was 17, but yeah, we're living in a different time. If you look at 19-year-olds now, they do videos with Kafia talking about how good it is to kill Jews. Yeah, I'm not blaming all 19-year-olds, by the way, for that guy. But yeah, and speaking of giving up on Israel, I'm hoping people don't give up on us because we're doing Owen Jones again. It is for very good reason. This is an important one. Yeah, so make sure you tune into that and couple of other things. Oh yeah, uh, Wonder Freeman. Oh, said it but deleted it. I think he said something like Mansour Ashkar for Prime Minister. Yeah, that's somebody I would vote for. Probably if he ran, I would probably need to listen to more of his stuff before fully saying that. But yeah, anybody who recognizes reality, recognizes what state, what situation Israel is in, what it is up against, and wants to act in accordance with, uh, a desire for Israel to continue to exist at the very least. Um, Thank you, Christian, for the super chat. Christian says, "I want escalation, not ceasefires. Victory, not a draw." Yeah, this reminds me of what I was going to say, which is um, the government keeps talking in Israel about how, this is it, and Gideon's chariots. It's going to be about any land we take in Gideon's chariots. That's it. We're never giving it up. And then they're sitting at the negotiating table talking about withdrawing. So everything you say is going to be taken by the enemy as complete bullshit because you're telling us it's bullshit. You're telling us we're not. Yeah, we're gonna stay here permanently unless we have a deal with the terrorists who started this war. That's not what permanent means. Permanent means that's it. And yeah, if Israel was clear about that, then yeah,
Yeah, and just to add to that, that also signals to the Palestinian population, right? Don't worry about Israeli occupation because we will go away at some point, or we will be forced out, or we will concede, or we will make a deal to basically go out. So they have no reason to do anything to sort of like try to moderate in any way, or try to integrate within Israeli society, or under the military occupation. They know that if they resist, they'll get what they want. That's what Palestinians have been told all along, right? Don't accept any deal. You don't have to accept any deal because the world will be behind you no matter what. So keep on fighting. You can only win. The only thing you can lose is your chains, as Marx would say. So yeah, of course they should fight forever because they'll always be rewarded for it by international community and by Israel itself. When did Israel impose anything besides the when it was founded? When it was founded, it deported many, or sort of many people were forced to flee, didn't let any of them back, occupy deported many of them afterwards, occupied the rest of them until they became citizens, and that was what was going to happen. But with everything afterwards, it was always a temporary thing. We got out of Sinai, we got out of Gaza, we got out of Judea and Samaria.
yeah. And again, if Israel was clear, yeah, this is what it would say, and then do victory, deportation, and that's it. And then the same thing in the West Bank. Thank you, Jonathan, for the super chat, and thank you, Jonathan, for uh, going through some Owen Jones. Jonathan will be on the reality show, going through the same Owen Jones stuff again. That's talk about a sacrifice. Um, and there was something else. Oh yeah, Catherine says Einat Wilf for prime minister, and yeah, that's another thing I've been saying. Like Einat Wilf is leftist, through and through, but she is correct on how Israel should fight. And yeah, I would vote, like I said, anybody with, even if they have very bad ideas, but they will win the war. They will recognize who the enemy is, and then win. They have my vote. Somebody who will never have my vote is Owen Jones, the topic of today's episode of the reality show. We are going to take a deep breath, drink some water, and prepare for that. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, everybody, for watching. The reality show starts in a couple of minutes.